Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Good evening. You're watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. The United Nations warns that Yemen is collapsing and on the brink of a civil war as political parties are trying to resolve their differences. US-led airstrikes kill at least 20 Daesh fighters in northeastern Syria near the border with Iraq. And Oman oil price April delivery rises to $58.6 per barrel after gaining $2.9. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail. His Majesty Sultan Qaboos sent a cable of condolences to the custodian of the two holy mosques, King Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, on the death of His Royal Highness Prince Fahd bin Mohammed bin Abdulaziz Al Saud. Germany and Italy had decided to close their embassies in Yemen due to worries about security. A spokeswoman for German Foreign Ministry said today that staff had left earlier in the day because of the unstable situation. Britain, France and the United States have already closed their diplomatic missions this week as militia known as the Houthis tighten their grip on power after seizing the capital in September. Meanwhile, the United Nations warned that while progress has been made in Yemen, talks on the political settlement and the country is on the brink of the civil war and conditions are conducive to allowing Al-Qaeda militants to strengthen. Al-Qaeda affiliated fighters seized an army base in southern Yemen and held soldiers prisoner yesterday. The Houthis have sidelined the central government in Yemen. UN Security General Ban Ki-moon and his special envoy to Yemen, Jamal bin Omar, briefed the Security Council yesterday. Bin Omar said daily negotiations on a political settlement had yielded good progress, but there were still a delicate stage. Bin Omar also warned the Yemen's economy was facing imminent failure and that the local currency could collapse if a political settlement was not secured in the coming days. The United Nations warned that Yemen is collapsing before our eyes on the brink of a civil war. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon had this to say on the 15th Nation Security Council.
Yemen is collapsing before our eyes. We cannot stand by and watch. Our focus must be on helping the Yemeni people to re-establish a legitimate government authority as soon as possible. We must do everything possible to help Yemen step back from the brink and get the political process back on track.
The UN envoy for Syria, Staffan de Mistura, said today that President Bashar al-Assad must be part of the solution for easing violence in Syria, and he would continue discussions with him after talks in Damascus earlier this week.
President Assad, I saw him the other day. I will continue, I hope, to see him. There is an important dialogue that we need to have. He is still president of Syria. There is a government there. There is a large part of Syria which is under the control of the Syrian government. And I will continue having very important discussions with him because he is part also of the solution. The only one who takes advantage of it is ISIS, Daesh. It is as if there has been a monster waiting for this conflict to take place in order to be able to take advantage. And secondly, the destabilization of the countries in the region. Look at Lebanon. Can Lebanon sustain the equivalent for the US if they had 100 million refugees? They can't. And they've been very generous. Look at 1.6 million people now in Turkey. Look at Jordan.
U.S.-led airstrikes killed at least 20 Daesh fighters in northeastern Syria near the border with Iraq. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said 19 explosions were heard during the airstrikes in al-Shaddadi in the northeastern province of Haska. One civilian was also killed in the airstrikes. He said that the U.S.-led alliance started bombing Daesh targets in Syria in September as part of the strategy aimed at rolling back the group's territorial gains in Syria and Iraq. Iraqi Prime Minister Haider al-Abadi called on the international community to provide more military assistance to Iraqi forces fighting terrorism and extremist groups. Daesh insurgents took control of large parts of the western Iraqi town of al-Baghdadi, threatening an airbase where U.S. Marines are training Iraqi troops. Daesh militants attacked al-Baghdadi from 2 directions earlier in the day and then advanced on the town. Intelligence sources say the officials in Al Jazeera and Al Bidiyah operations command said. The officials said another group of Daesh insurgents then attacked the heavily guarded Ain al-Assad area base 5 kilometers southwest of the town, but were unable to break into it. Most of the surrounding town in Anbar fell under Daesh control after the group's rapid advance crossed the Syria border last summer. The European Union will add on Monday 19th new names on Russians and Ukrainians to its list of people under an EU asset freeze and travel ban for their roles in the war in Ukraine, despite the peace accord signed in Minsk on Wednesday. Meanwhile, Ukraine and Russian-backed rebels fought fiercely across the east of the country today, despite of a new peace deal brokered by Germany and France. A ceasefire is due to come into effect from Sunday under the agreement, which also envisages a withdrawal of heavy weapons responsible for many of the 5,000 casualties in the conflict that broke out almost a year ago. Kyiv said pro-Russian rebels had built up their forces across separatist-held zones since the deal, and both sides accused each other of killing civilians. 2 people were killed and 6 wounded when a shell hit a cafe in Kyiv-controlled town near rebel-held area in eastern Ukraine. At least 19 people were killed today in the Pakistani city of Peshawar in a series of explosions targeting a mosque in the latest sectarian attacks to hit the South Asian nation. Police said a group of armed men broke into the mosque where people were attending Friday prayers and opened fire, following with 3 explosions were heard inside the building. The Pakistani Taliban, who are fighting against the state, claimed responsibility. At least 9 people were killed and more than 18 injured seriously when an insurgent city express derailed this morning near the South Indian city of Bangalore. The train was on its way to the Kerala state city of Irankulam. Most of the victims were from Kerala. Initial investigations revealed that the train hit a boulder, fell on the track near Hosur, 45 kilometers from Bangalore. 2 bodies were heavily damaged, and relief and rescue teams had to cut up the compartment to rescue some people who were trapped inside for a few hours. Injured passengers were moved immediately to nearby hospitals. Still to come in our news bulletin. Computer programming became a compulsory subject for all pupils in the United Kingdom. Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. Oman oil April price delivery in Dubai Mercantile Exchange has reached $58.6 per barrel. The price of Oman oil rose by $2.90 from the price of yesterday, which was $55.16 per barrel. The average price of Oman oil February delivery 2015 reached $61 and 1 cent, thus $17.2823 per barrel, lower than January delivery 2015. After 3 days of competition among camel owners, the second Moqshan Festival for Milking and Beautification concluded under the auspices of His Excellency Sayyid Mohammed bin Sultan Al Busaidi, Minister of State and Governor of Dhofar. The conclusion ceremony included also Omani singing, arts and poems. The festival, which aimed to preserve Omani legacy, witnessed a participation from various governorates of the Sultanate. The support by the government, institutions and private sectors formed in conclusion awards which satisfied the winners. Oman in Photographers' Eyes was the photography competition in Muscat Festival this year. It was organized by the Cultural Committee of the festival in cooperation with Photographic Society affiliated to Sultan Qaboos Higher Center for Culture and Sciences. The competition included a number of photographs about the Sultanate. The competition concluded by honoring the winners and inauguration of the exhibition under the auspices of His Excellency Mohammed bin Az-Zubair, advisor to His Majesty the Sultan for Economic Planning Affairs. 186 photographers presented about 700 pictures in nature, heritage and modern lifestyle in Oman. The exhibition will be open for public until 19th of February at the Hall of Photographic Society in the Wilaya of Sib. For children who have become increasingly savvy consumers of sophisticated technology, a London workshop is offering something different, a chance to get back to basic and build their own computers. Here's a report.
Technology that's real child's play. Inside this small box are computer parts, assembled in just a few simple steps, intended for all children and not just technological whiz kids.
When I opened the box, I said it's going to be very, very hard to do it. I thought there would be wires and stuff, also wires and many pieces of headphones and all this stuff. But when I opened it, me and Faisal worked together and eventually we finished it in about 5-10 minutes.
At this fab lab in central London, they're assembling a kit developed by British startup Cano that at €100 a pop is more affordable than most PCs. Instructors are on hand to guide the kids through the process, step by step.
So it's all about making the kids work things out for themselves. So we try to encourage problem solving. That's why they work in pairs. So if you've got a problem, you've got a partner that can probably work it out for you. And then if you get really stuck, you can then talk to the other people. So everyone's doing the same thing. Everyone's facing the same problems. So they can help each other out.
Once assembled, the children then need to learn how to make it work, like installing software and coding.
I think we see so much technology around it, it's changing everything we do, and rather than being driven by technology, it's good to be aware of how it works so actually we can use it and develop it going forward and not just be, as you say, a consumer.
The British government has already recognised how vital digital skills are to these children's future. Since the beginning of this school year, computer programming became a compulsory subject for all pupils of the United Kingdom.
Now for the general weather forecast. Clear skies will prevail over the Sultanate, with clouds moving towards northern governorates of the Sultanate and chances of clouds and fog in the governorates of South Sharqiya, Wusta and Dhofar and coastal areas of Sea of Oman. Winds will be northeasterly light to moderate along the coast of Sea of Oman, while it will be northeasterly light to moderate along the rest of the Sultanate. Seas will be slight to moderate along the coast of the Arabian Sea with a maximum wave height of 1.5 meters, slight with a maximum wave height of 1 meter. This is the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. The United Nations warns that Yemen is collapsing and on the brink of a civil war as the political parties are trying to resolve their differences. US-led airstrikes kill at least 20 Daesh fighters in northeastern Syria near the border with Iraq. And Oman oil price April delivery rises to $58.6 per barrel after gaining $2.9. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the studio and the newsroom, it's good night.